Hello folks, the Celtic Nerd here bringing you another nerdy video. And it is Wednesday at the time of this recording, and we are back with more Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I just watched the latest episode, and I'm here to give you my thoughts. Now, that being said, there are some things once again, I just need to clarify. This video will contain spoilers for the episode, and it will also contain spoilers for the book. However, I will try and keep them as vague as possible because you need to experience both, and I can definitely see that intent behind this show. Now, a lot of care has gone into the show. They have made changes to the story. They deviated from the books. However, the changes that was made for the show were made by the author of the book, and the reason why he made these changes was because he wanted this medium to stand by itself. He didn't just want it to be a copy and paste of the books, and he wanted to make sure that people like me who've read the books, or in my case with thanks to Audible, who have listened to the books over and over and over and over again because we love them, will find something new. It's not, and because it's not a copy and paste, we can actually, just experience it without any worry of like being like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen here. No, we don't. We have a vague idea. The fans of the book series will have a vague idea of what's going to happen, and but there's still going to be surprises. Like, there was plenty of surprises in this latest episode, especially at the end, and I'm going to cover that when we get there. I'm just going to open up Disney Plus on my second, and there's my dog reacting to my sister leaving the house. Pop, come here. Pop. No, see, he's not coming over now. He's like, who's at the door? Who's at the door? Pop, come here. Rascal. No one's there. Okay. My woman. Okay, no, he's not. He's just getting in a more comfortable position. Okay. Sorry, folks. Unfortunately, with three dogs, it's just, I can't really predict when they're gonna go off. In fact, we're actually expecting a delivery, which means they could go off at any moment. So I'm going to try and get this through this anyway. So we're on episode 6. And, I did not mean that. I'm not meaning to press play. I just want to be able to get clippets to, jog my memory, even though I just seen it. So we start off pretty much where. Oh, yeah, of course. It's not fast forwarding when I click places. There we go. So yeah, we start off pretty much immediately we left off. Well, not immediately. It's the day after, when Ares put Percy, Annabeth, and Grover into the truck. Percy is having a dream. Now, this show is doing something that is quite different than the book. Now, in the book, the story is being told from it's being told from Percy's perspective, but not in the sense that you may think. It's being told as if Percy is telling the story to someone else, possibly to new campers by the end of the series, which sort of gives away the fact that, like, obviously he's well. Like, he didn't do any, like, noble sacrifice by the end of the series or anything like that, because he's telling the story. Now, mind you, that type of telling of the story does change, I believe, when we get to Heroes of Olympus, that story, that franchise, because, again, the universe is not just Percy Jackson and the Olympians, it's Heroes of Olympus after that, then the Chronicles of Cain, and so on. However, this book, one of the things that this book does is, now in the book, it doesn't give us like 100%. Where like Percy does not tell 100% of the story. He does skip over some time. Now, mind you, because of such a short time frame that he had to complete his quest, we are with him for a large number of his journey, but we do not see every night. We do not. We're not. There are moments where they skip, but it tends to be skipping hours as opposed to days. Now, in the show, they gave them a bit more time, which I can sort of understand why they would do that, because they want to have a bit more freedom to show off some stuff. And again, it will sort of helps establish their friendship, their growing friendships, if they're not just with each other only for a short period of time. Now, obviously, we're seeing the important bits. Now, um, Percy is having a dream. Now, we've seen him having a couple of these dreams. This time it is different. All the times it was someone calling out to him, trying to talk to him. This time he's more or less in a hallway of his old school, and he's seeing a person that's veiled in shadow, talking to someone else, the lightning thief, and they're talking about their plans and like the war, and the person acknowledges Percy, and Percy gets a feeling like, okay, this person knows this is a dream. It's very weird, but then he's awoken by animals. Again, I'm trying to keep things different. Quick now that's the way it is in the movie. I will now describe what it's like in the book. So, in the book, we do get this type of scene, and it is done much differently. Percy is more or less in a cave. He's still eavesdropping on someone, and he is overhearing a conversation between a voice. He does like two voices. He does not see who the speakers are. There's absolutely no figures or shadowy figure or anything. It's just the voices, and he sees like a chasm and darkness. He hears titles. He doesn't hear like he hears lightning thief, and he hears the crooked one, but he's not hearing any names. And yeah, so it pretty much happens. Otherwise, very easily, except he hears the other voice as well there too, in the book version, and it's the lightning thief. Now, anyone who now readers of the book won't be able to figure out who it is, who's the voice, but people who are listening to the audiobook, it pretty much gives it away as soon as the person who narrates now again, I use the UK version of Audible, because it is region locked, which has tormented me quite considerably, due to rights and whatnot. Let me get my book details. So the narrator is Jesse Bernstein. Now, he is an amazing narrator. I absolutely love him. And because the book is being told from Percy's perspective, all the characters, I don't know if this guy has range with his voice acting, but because of the way the book is being told, it does feel like Percy's just doing an impression of the other characters. So it's really nice. But he uses the same voice for the lightning thief as he does for another character, and it's pretty much like, oh, it's him. So yeah, it's pretty funny. Like if you're aware of if you but yeah, no, Jesse Bernstein did an amazing job narrating the hero, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. It's just a shame we didn't have him for the Heroes of Olympus story. Oh, sorry, I had a yawn there. But what else? What else? Um, that's pretty much it. That's the changes of between that scene. Next, we have Percy waking up in the truck, and they're pretty much talking about what they talked about the night before, which was what Grover was about to go into. Uh, I don't. I feel like we should have just started the episode with them talking and then have Percy go to sleep and then got that dream. But because like it feels weird that they had the conversation, they went to bed clearly, and now they're re-having the conversation. It's just a little weird. Um, Also, we finally get the iris messaging, uh, which they did move it to a later point, and they are achieving it in a different way. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it never dawned on me that they could do it this way. Now, Iris is the Greek god of rainbows, and for some reason, in the Percyverse or Rickverse, I should more or less say at this point, considering the story has expanded so much beyond just Percy Jackson. But yeah, in the Rickverse, for some reason, Iris has pretty much connected all rainbows, and she uses them to do for Iris messaging, or in the show they refer to it as I am. Because especially for demigods, because demigods cannot use cell phones, because demigods have an aura about them. The stronger the demigod is, the more powerful their aura, and the more likely monsters are going to attack them. And apparently cell phones amplify that. So whenever if a demigod uses a phone, it's essentially shooting up a flare of being like, "Hey, I'm over here." So demigods tend to avoid them at all costs. Now, this is a clever alternative. In the book, we have they go to a car washing place, a self do yourself car wash, and they have to hold up like a spray gun and create a rainbow using it. And it's again it's that's them being pretty creative. And later in the series, Percy even gets a special fountain gifted to him by his father for his cabin, which has a constant stream of water, making a constant rainbow. So all he has to ever do is open up the window to let light in, and he gets a rainbow. So it's again pretty clever. Now, and it never occurred to me, but this is one of the things I do love about this show that they do bring up is crystals. Here we go. Just get one of my oh no, my collective coin. So yeah, crystals. Now Annabeth's one is a lot different, but she lets light shine through it. Let me just adjust my thing. Ooh, wow, that's very bright. So I'm gonna see if I can make a rainbow myself. There's some hints of other colors, but again, this is not real crystal. Um, so there's not enough light refraction going on. So let's maybe just readjust that, so it's not like a blinding light. Um, there we go, a little bit better. So yeah, she uses like a long thing. I was wondering what that was. We've seen it a couple of times, but I was wondering what it is. So Grover opens up a small little hatch to let light in, and she's trying to, she tries to catch it. She's like this, trying to get the light to go in, refract, and shoot out with the color rainbows, like the prism. That's what it is. It's a prism, and it's really cool. And I was like, oh my god, that is so cool. I never thought of that. So that is quite obviously a nice, cool way of demigods being able to communicate without the need of having to have water nearby. And it's extremely portable. Like, damn, that is really cool. However, they still need to toss in a gold drachma in order to, someone you have to make an offering to the goddess. They say the name, and we pretty much get the conversation that we get for the most part. Now, Grover Percy and Annabeth believe Clarice is the lightning thief because Grover got the impression that Ares knows who the lightning thief is, but he's protecting them. And who would Ares protect? They could possibly only think of two people: his children, as well as Aphrodite. And so they think of, okay, who if it's one of his children, who's his favorite? And they all are like Clarice. So there you go. So they believe it is Clarice, and so they send an Irish message to try and talk to Chiron. No, Karen. Oh, I mixed. I'm now doing what happens in the show and the book, where you mix up the ferryman and the legendary centaur hero trainer, the one who trained Heracles. It's Chiron for the ferryman, and it's Charon. See, one spelt with an A, one spelt with an I, and it's Charon when it's the centaur. Hmm. Alright, their trainer. um, so yeah, they're sending an Irish message because you had to say the destination or the recipient. So they say just the destination. I don't know why they didn't say the recipient. But anyway, they say the destination. So they connect, and instead of getting their trainer, they get Luke. And Luke's like, hey guys, they're like, where is he? And he's like, oh, he's off trying to hold the camp together. Someone, like, they heard about the war, and the cabins are taking sides. And they're like, we believe it's Clarice is the lightning thief. He needs to arrest her. And he's like, okay. And they try and have a bit of a back and forth. Now, it's not the exact conversation, but it's the gist. The main difference. Now, Percy's about to talk about going to Las Vegas to see Hermes, which is what's happening in this show, as opposed to what happened in the book. But Annabeth immediately tilts, or she moves the thing to destroy the rainbow. So, like, I imagine that's going to be that's one of the difficulties with the thing is you have to hold it steady or have it placed somewhere so that it won't move, and so that way, because like I guess like creating a new, you can't really move the rainbow. If you do that, like you're technically creating a new one, I guess. And I either way, she just moves it, and the calls pretty much end, and she explains why they can't let Luke know that they're going to see Hermes. Um, so yeah, the conversation happens a little different. Um, there's a bit more hints of Annabeth and Luke's relationship in this moment. In the book, Annabeth has a crush on Luke, and pretty much that scene, like, sort of like it helps reveal that big crush, because she apparently gets all fussy about her parents when they're talking to Luke, and this is supposed to be what happens. Like, this is supposed to be the first hint about Grover's first attempt of bringing a half blood to camp. Now, mind you, we've already had that in the show, pretty much in like the third episode. So, fair enough. So we didn't need that conversation. And then also Luke asks about like how's his gifts been how's his gifts been useful, i.e. the shoes. So that's pretty much it for the Irish message on the train ride. Grover does estate her blessing, and they release the animals in Vegas. And immediately they go to the Lotus Casino. So, the vast majority of the episode focuses on the casino. Annabeth explains. She explains she's known Luke a lot longer than anyone else, and she was there when Hermes and Luke had a big argument, and how Luke pretty much does not like her. Now, in the in the book, they were supposed to stay on that truck all the way to Los Angeles. They were supposed to stay on it all the way to Los Angeles. However, it's because of the cruelty to the animals that they actually get off in Vegas, because they are like, no, we're releasing the animals. I'm tired of this. Like, and it's all of them are like, all three of them are like, no, we're releasing the animals. Especially when one of the guys comes in and he sort of taunts the zebra and all that. And Percy, Annabeth, and Grover are like, okay, no, fuck this, we're releasing them. So, and it was only they only went into the casino, the Lotus Casino, out of desperation. But in this, they're more specifically going in there. Now, in the book, none of them makes the connection of the legendary Greek story, the Odyssey. Now, that's the thing about these books, this book franchise. Now, it's not. It does deviate quite a lot compared to the old stories, and it also deviates away from this formula a lot in the Heroes of Olympus. However, for the majority of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the story is pretty much like the formula is pretty much the same. Uh, they essentially have recreations of famous Greek stories, which is really fucking cool. I absolutely love that about the Percy Jackson stories, and the fact that they're cool twists on classic stories. And that this is one of them. This is a twist of the Odyssey, where the hero in I can't remember the name of the hero of that story, but the hero in that story goes to an island, and he because of the lotus plant, people forget why they're out on a journey. They forget what's important to them, and they just want to stay on the island. Now, Grover is the one that actually brings it up, which I find really cool. And Percy revealed, like, oh yeah, my mom read me a graphic novel about it, which I was like, a graphic novel of the Odyssey. Okay. But again, still cool. And they are aware they're about to enter a very dangerous place. So they're like, okay, let's do this, guys. And so they're like, don't eat any of the food, because again they're aware of the story. So they're like, let's don't eat anything. Get in, get out. So they eventually do split up. Annabeth goes with Percy, which that's when she sort of reveals, like, I know Luke a lot longer, and that's when she explains she saw the argument. She also explains Sears, which is a lot early. That doesn't happen until like yeah, it doesn't happen until book. That's not till it's actually bothering my left eye. This eye has had a lot of damage, and it's really sensitive to light. So that actually stung quite a bit. Anyway, so this is now I'm very dark now, and my windows, both windows and blinds are wide open. It's the problem with being in this little corner, and the fact that my windows face away from the sun in the morning. Anyway, so yeah, that's when we get that conversation. But yeah, we're talking about Sears are not really explained until book 3 and 4. Now, mind you, it's extremely important in book 4 and 5. That's when the whole thing about Sears is extremely important. I am not going to go into details. But yeah, so Annabeth explains Sears, they're mortals that can see through the mist, and in some cases they see too much. And apparently Luke's mother was a seer. Now, she's not the only seer, and Percy doesn't put connections in his mind yet until a fair bit later. So yeah, seers are just people who can see through the mist. We then go over to Grover, who is walking around looking for Hermes, and he spots a satyr, and he's like, and it's a satyr he knows, so he goes to try and talk to him. The satyr is like, I don't know, who are you? And then he's like, and then they go back and forth. This is a new scene to the story, as opposed to the book. And the satyr's like, Pan's here. He's so close. And so they go looking for. He's like, help me. And Grover, wanting to find Pan, is like, yeah. So they go off looking for Pan. He forgets his mission to find Hermes. Uh, Annabeth and Percy do eventually find Hermes, and Hermes is like, "Hey, I know where you're here looking for me. I know what you want. You wouldn't be the first heroes to walk away disappointed." And when Annabeth's like, "We're friends of Luke," he's like, "That's so he's like that." He completely changes his tone, leads them to a table, and he starts talking about he again. I love this moment. It's a great humanizing moment of the gods that we sort of don't get in the first book. He talks about how it's painful for the gods to essentially look at their children struggle and whatnot and not really be able to help them, because again there are ancient laws, and one of those ancient laws is the gods are not allowed to interfere. They're not allowed to show favoritism, especially to their kids. Like they're supposed to be no, not they're not supposed to do things with their kids. Like, they're supposed to keep their distance, or at least as much distance as they can. They are allowed to occasionally give them gifts, but again, they're not allowed to shower them with gifts, which is sort of a good thing, because for in some cases there are multiple children of the gods. Which actually gets explained in book. I believe it's book 3 of the Heroes of Olympus storyline. Hephaestus explains it to his son. Why? Actually, no. I think yeah, I think it's that book, but it roughly gets explained by Hephaestus and Aphrodite about why there's so many kids, especially with Aphrodite, why there's so many kids that have age groups so close to one another, or even they're the same age. And basically the gods can be in multiple essentially the gods can be in multiple locations at a time, but they don't like doing it sort of limits their powers a little bit, which also explains why some demigods have more powers than others, even if they have the same parent. So yeah. uh, so yeah but yeah, basically, Hermes is like, whenever the gods get too close to their children, or whenever they interact with their children or people that they care about, things tend to get a lot worse for them. And he was advised by Poseidon to stay away from Luke and to stay away from Luke's mother. But clearly, the gods, despite them being gods, clearly they are still victims of their own emotions, and his love for Luke and Luke's mom clearly got the best of him, and he just kept going back. And the same thing could be said for for Poseidon. And again, it's just, you can tell Poseidon was sort of speaking from experience, and he probably left Percy's mom because she was pregnant, realizing, okay, she's going to suffer a lot now because of my influence with her. Sorry, me being around her would already draw some monsters over, and then now add on top of the fact of a demigod child, who will be a beacon to monsters anyway. So in his mind he was like, I need to leave. I have to avoid contact. So like you get a sense, like again it just reinforces the idea that the gods do not ignore their children because they want to, and they're trying their best to do what's right. So like again it's just a great humanizing moment. um but yeah, no, it is clear eventually that Hermes has an alternative motive. Annabeth storms off once it's clear that he's not going to help them, and after that, he has a word again. This is the majority of the humanizing conversation takes place after Annabeth leaves, because it's clear Hermes clearly has a very good friendship with Poseidon, which I find very interesting. You think it'd be more like him with Apollo, but then again, they do take interesting spins, and but yeah, it's just a sort of like nice humanizing moment of the gods. Percy then goes to talk to Annabeth, and Annabeth then reveals like when she stormed off, she put on her invisibility cap and circled back, and she pickpocketed Hermes' pocket and stole his keys, because that's what they needed. They needed a ride, so she stole his keys, and then that's when they realize something's going on outside, because Hermes started tapping his watch, and that's when Percy and Annabeth realize, oh no, minutes and seconds here are a lot faster outside, because Percy discovers like it's already Thursday, and they're like, oh no. So they're like, okay, we need to now. Percy actually forgot Grover, so they rush off to find Grover, because apparently it's revealed that Grover um, forgot what's going on. He forgot about them. He's out doing his own thing, and Percy explains like, Animat's like, but how we didn't eat the lotus blossom, and then Percy reveals they pump it in, as in like they pump it in as a gas, which again is sort of cool. The idea of like I do not know who's in charge of the what's who's in charge of the Lotus Island, and at this point now the casino. I am very curious about that. It'd be really cool to find out like who it would have been cool to find out who was behind it, but we don't get to find out. But it's clear that they were like, okay, I need to update my methods of imprisoning or trapping people. So instead of relying on people being tempted to eat my food because everyone's going to know about that story at this point, I need a new method. So he's like, oh, okay, gas. We'll pump in the lotus blossoms. We'll turn it into like gas, and then we'll pump it in through the everything like. So like I thought that was extremely cool. Um, so like because they don't really explain it in the book, it's just so many temptations. People tend to get distracted. Again, in the book, they were not aware that this was the modern version of the Lotus Blossom Island. That story didn't even get brought up in the books. So again, I really do like this edition. They find Grover playing a video game, a VR set, and they are very quick to be like, "Hey, we gotta go." And Grover's like, "Do I know you?" So it's sort of an awkward moment, but they eventually pull him away, and they're in the car park. Grover still does not know what's going on, Uh, again, it's just sort of funny that he's like he has a lot of like upbeat attitude about it, despite not knowing what the hell is going on. Again, it's hilarious, and so yeah, he essentially they find Hermes' ride. Turns out it's a taxi, which again is pretty hilarious. And then apparently Hermes realized he was pickpocketed, and he let them in know. And Annabeth's like, "Oh, I should have known. You know, the god of thieves would be able to tell when he was being pickpocketed." Which I'm like, then why did you attempt to? Like, you know the god, you know he's the god of, and yet you still attempted it. So like it's sort of like an funny moment. Again, it's sort of some people will be like that's a sort of weak Annabeth moment. In my opinion, it's not because it ties into what should happen if they do a second season based on the Sea of Monsters. Because in the Sea of Monsters, we get a very similar we learn Annabeth's fatal flaw, and it would actually tie back into what she attempted just here. I don't know if I should bring it up. You know what? I will. Um, Annabeth discovers that her fatal flaw is pride. Now, the fatal flaw, as the thing entails, is a flaw in the hero that would that often leads to their death. And if a hero knows their fatal flaw, they have a better chance of avoiding it. And with hers being pride, she feels like it's just all about the fact that she sometimes feels she can do things better than by other people, even the gods. So again, in my opinion, this is a good moment because it sort of hints at her fatal flaw. She thought she could pickpocket the god of thieves. Very like that. In my opinion, that is a very prideful like attitude to have. So I feel like that was a good character moment, especially for a setup for another season. So yeah, the big changes here in terms of the book. In the book, we had essentially there's no taxi. Well, there is a taxi at the end, but it's not Hermes' taxi. Hermes does not even show up in the Lotus Casino. They did not know. They were not aware that it was a trap. They just thought it was a fancy casino. There's a the casino is magical. Is a lot bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. They have like bungee jumping, an indoor roller coaster. They have like they all get suckered in by a bunch of things that they would clearly enjoy. The casino has actively changed to lure them in, or like at least lure them to do something. There's a architect simulation game where you can build like cities and it's 3D. So like she raises her hand, like she goes like this, like, and you know on the digital table, like she will see the skyscrapers and all that being built. Grover is drawn in playing this like reverse hunting game where the deer shoot rednecks, and Percy's just drawn in by a whole bunch of different games. And Percy realizes like it's a trap because he talks to someone who's like groovy and all that, like, and he's like, what? And Percy like at one point Percy's like, this game sucks, and he's like, it sucks. Like he never heard that expression. And again, he starts noticing the outfits, and he's like, so he tries to talk to this kid that he's been playing video games with for a while, and he's like, hold on, um, how long have you been here? And that's again they have a conversation. And the person's like, oh, oh, and he has to try and snap Grover and Annabeth out of it. With Annabeth, he's like, there's spiders, loads of spiders, and just the mental image of spiders is enough to send her into a fear moment, and she snaps out of it, and they literally have to pull Grover out. Grover's like, no, and he starts using the winged boot shoes to try and pull himself back in. So they have to pull him all the way out before he snaps out of it, and then that's when they realize, oh my god, we lost so many days, but they still have the special credit cards for the casino, and then they use it to pay a taxi. The taxi like, hey, that's going to be several $100 to get you to Santa Monica. You're going to have to pay up front like for that. And I was like, do you take casino cash cards? They're like, sometimes. Swipe it. We'll see if it works. She swipes it. It comes up as infinity. He's like, okay. And she's like, gets there quickly. You can keep the change. And then he's like, oh, okay. Let's see if it will cost the change of infinity. Like that guy is set for life. He probably immediately retired as soon as like he was able to set up the the cat like the change system or the tip system. But yeah, he is set for life. um, But yeah, so the changes, they get in Hermes' taxi, and just as they're about to get into a car crash because Percy doesn't know how to drive, they instantly appear on a beach, and Percy's like, okay, I'm going to go see my father now, and he wades into the water. This is a lot different. Some differences here is Percy. I'm sort of disappointed that we did not get to see this because it's another power of Percy's that gets highlighted here, and we also was supposed to get highlighted back in the truck. I forgot about this, folks. Um, Grover cannot speak to all animals, and which is a bit weird. Apparently, Grover cannot talk to horses because every instance of a horse talking to Percy, we every time a horse talks to Percy, Grover is ignorant of the conversation, which again, it's just baffling to me. I find that, like, mind you, again, it's sort of cool. If you know about the Greek stories, according to Greek myth, horses were created from the crashing of waves. Poseidon made them, so as such, his children can talk to horses, and in fact, horses even treat the children of Poseidon as essentially royalty. Well, not all children of Poseidon. More so, it's more so just the demigods. Um, that's important. It comes up in the next book. But yeah, they treat Percy like his royalty. Hell, there's one that essentially becomes Percy's. A Pegasus essentially becomes Percy's exclusive mount, and he even refers to Percy as boss. And he has sort of like a New Yorker accent, and he's like, "Me and the boys will stampede anyone for you." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And this horse constantly is like, "We'll kill anyone for you, boss. Like, let's do it." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I love this horse." He doesn't come up until book two, at the end of book two, but he doesn't start talking to Percy, or he doesn't become Percy's exclusive mount until book three. And you don't even get to learn his name until book three. But yeah, Percy has a special connection to horses because of this, and and I extended to zebras. So that's when Percy starts realizing, like, oh god, I can talk to horses. So yeah, that's one power that we also have not gotten to see. Another power that we would have gotten in this scene is aquatic life. Love Percy as well, and they act obediently. For example, I can't remember what type of shark it was, but basically a shark is supposed to show up and act like a dog to Percy. It's like nuzzling him and all that, and it even lets Percy grab hold of its fin, and it brings him to the meeting point where Percy is supposed to have a meeting. So again, like, it's just hilarious. Uh, Now, another big change is in the book, Poseidon was never intending to show up at this meeting. He was not planning on showing up at the meeting. He initially wanted, he only sent a representative to talk to Percy. In the show, however, his dad was going to show up, but he waited for Percy as long as he could. Now remember, several days have gone by for to the rest of the world except for Percy, Annabeth, and Grover, and so Percy is very late to the meeting. And unfortunately, the deadline has gone. So now Poseidon, and the reason why Poseidon couldn't wait any longer is because the deadline went. Zeus is gearing up for war, and Poseidon is has left to gear for war because again they're both expecting a fight. Zeus is expecting Poseidon to use the lightning bolt and bring his army to Mount Olympus and fight, and Poseidon is expecting Zeus to to gather his army and then march. So they're both like essentially convinced themselves that the other is going to attack. So they're both building up their armies, which is giving the other the impression that they're going to attack. It's a very cool situation, but yeah. So she was like, "I'm sorry, he couldn't be here. He wanted to be. He waited as long as he could, but you missed him, and so you're relieved of this quest." And this is a great moment. Percy's like, "No, I'm not going back to camp. I'm seeing this through. I'm going to Hades. This is bigger than the war between Zeus and Poseidon. They're being manipulated by Hades and all that. There's something bigger at work." And she's just like, "So much of your father is in you." And here is a big change that I'm wondering why Rick Riordan is doing it. I won't get to see what until next week, but it's just a weird change. She hands him 4 pearls. In the book, he only gets 3. I am not going to go into details on what the pearls are meant for, just yet. That should be covered next. I will say there should be 3, otherwise a certain dilemma is not a big thing. So we'll have to wait and see. I wonder if we're going to get the waterbed situation. For those of you that read the books, you'll understand why or listen to the books, you know what I mean by waterbeds. And I'm wondering if we're going to see Dead or Alive music studio. I'm wondering if we're going to see that. Again, people who've read the books or listened to the books in my case because of Audible would know what I mean. Fun fact: in my re-listening, I'm on book 3 of my re-listening of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians things. Yeah, I've been listening to them a lot. Oh God, sorry folks. Literally I just woke up not long, watched the 30-minute episode, uh, uh, 30-minute episode, and then I came straight up here to do this video. So it's quite early in the morning. I'm doing this, but yeah, that's about it. I covered pretty much everything. This episode was more focused on the relation between the gods and their loved ones, which is absolutely amazing. I really liked it because again it helps set up future scenes, and again I feel like Annabeth's one is definitely a good one. If they do season 2, and if they keep a certain scene from the Sea of Monsters, it was completely removed from the movie. Mind you, the movies in general completely changed loads of stuff, and like again, apparently, like from what I've read, it's the reason why we didn't get the third movie is just because Rick Riordan was like, okay, no, you've made such drastic changes. The rest of the whole story is just drastically and completely altered. What have you done? And again, a similar thing happened with the inheritance cycle, the otherwise known as Aragon. Now, mind you, that movie franchise didn't even get up to they didn't even get to book 2, the film rights to that, uh, which is just hilarious. Like, At least they were able to get 2 movies out of Rick Riordan before he pulled the plug. But no, in all fairness, they should have pulled the plug after just fucking one. With the changes that they made. Um, let's see. Other than that, no, that's it. That is pretty much it. We've now officially covered everything. The pearls. Him missing his opportunity to speak with his dad. Him learning that his dad waited for him. The Lotus Casino, Grover forgetting who his friends were, Hermes's car, them talking, the Iris message, the dream, them talking to Hermes. Yeah, okay, I covered everything. Sorry, sorry, folks, I just had to double check for myself. But no, I've covered. I'm sure I've covered everything. Again, my videos are completely raw. I do them on the spot. I don't pre-plan them. I don't write scripts. So, yeah, this is the danger of them. But hey, you're getting proper me, as opposed to like scripted stuff. But yeah, no. Uh, I'm gonna try and get some Star Wars related videos done today. Preferably, I might progress more of my Knights of the Old Republic, and then maybe tackle the Old Republic a little bit. My shoulder is feeling a lot better as opposed to it was yesterday. I was in a lot of pain. It actually even made using my mouse, like even using my mouse, was a little painful. But I'm feeling a lot better. I had a nice long scalding hot shower bath, uh, to help with the muscle, and then I also had a nice sleep. So hopefully I can keep up this recovery, and so that way I can get stuff done. It's just, again, I'm hoping my shoulder doesn't bother me too much. There's still a little twinge in it, but hopefully I'll be able to make use of my mouse just enough for me to get some videos done. But yeah, that's what I'll try and get done today. If I can, if it's bothering me too much, I will switch to maybe doing some stuff on the Xbox, or maybe Assassin's Creed, because at least that way I can use a controller and keep my arms in a more relaxed position. Instead of being up here or like raised up, they'd be just more lowered down on my lap. So, again, the handy thing about playing with a controller, the handy thing about using a controller as opposed to keyboard and mouse is, you can actually be in a more relaxed position, and play the game. So, if my arm is bothering me, I'll be back with more things. Again, this is not a stream, so we'll see what happens. Alright, this is the Celtic Nerd signing out. One name, one sky.